I also have an amazing friend, Jess Liston, and we do a show called Eat the Damn Cake. And that is, I would like to say it's an accessory show to what was Grit and Grace, and now it's Shylo. And we're just really excited to be relaunching, rebranding, and doing all the things and having a lot of freaking fun. So last year, if you watch the shows, and I really am excited to relaunch because you can start over or start from the beginning, you get to see a journey that I didn't know what it was going to be. I'll be honest with you. When I started, I was just trying to get my voice back. And when I say that, I had just moved out of my house. I got separated from my husband. I moved into an apartment that was furnished last minute. In Duluth, Minnesota, you don't have a lot of time from fall to winter to find a place because winter here is horrendous, like living in Antarctica. There's not a lot of options. So I had to find a place that was suitable for me and my kids. I have 3 children to live with me half the time because now I am divorced, and we'll talk more about that. Um, but as I was transitioning, I got started in the show 2 months after I had moved out, and I was really shaky. So, but I was very vulnerable on a level where I used the episodes, I used the show as my way to express a lot more of me, more than you see on maybe social media or more than a lot of people had ever seen. And it was really a way for me to get confidence back. I had recently quit drinking, so my sobriety journey is in there. There's a lot of things that we talk about, healing relationships with my mother and healing relationships with my daughter, and we talk about that in there. So it's definitely worth the rewatching, and we're relaunching all those episodes so you can get caught up and see where I am now. But I really enjoyed almost documenting that entire year because it was one of the hardest and best years of my life. I will say I had never felt more lonely, never felt more depression. I went through so many highs and lows, anxiety. I suffer from PTSD. I talk about some experiences that really triggered me into that again. So you really get a deep dive into all the things. And I didn't hold back, which was a blessing because it was really a part of my healing. So that last year doing Grit and Grace was the most healing part of my lifetime in my life. I've moved twice. So I moved into the first apartment, and then now I'm in my condo here. The big lake's behind me, if you can see. And there's barely anything left in here, because I had put a lot of stuff in storage, and now we're going to leave in 2 weeks. And I head out to Cyprus to be with friends out there. I'm also going on an incredible girls trip, which will be documented, and we'll probably do a live episode. Me and Jess will be doing a live episode out in Egypt. So definitely a once-in-a-lifetime trip. We get to go with my shaman, Ruth, who's done an episode with me in Grit and Grace. So definitely check that episode out. She's incredible. One of my girlfriends, Ashley, and her husband, and then Jess also, just an incredible friend. So once in a lifetime trip, we're going to document that. We'll probably do some shows out there, and then, the adventure began. So you get to start with me on a brand new adventure. So last year was my transition from being a married woman. So purpose-driven woman. And I like to say purpose-driven ex-wife now. So I was a purpose-driven wife for 17 years, 15 years married with 17, professional athlete. We went through the gamut of that, being in the sports world and dealing with sponsors and, the ups and downs with that, and then transitioning out of that world. And it definitely was a really big part of my life. And I don't think it's over. So the purpose-driven ex-wife, the purpose-driven woman, the purpose-driven wife is really what I'm focusing on this chapter, and really wrapping my arms around a lot of women who are looking for their purpose and helping them find that. So we're excited to talk about that too. During, the next few episodes, we're really going to dive into what does that mean, and, a little bit of my journey in that world. And also, I got sick of, redoing the curtains and decorating 89 times a year. For what? I was spending money like ridiculous. How many times get your boobs done, right? Like seriously, it was one of those things where I found my purpose and my passion, and it led me to here. It led me to an incredible journey of entrepreneurship. and building teams and being a public speaker and having my own episodes and meeting just incredible people all over the world and being able to connect, and now being able to be one of the elite coaches with the other elite coaches and help women, female entrepreneurs, find their voice, find their passion. And that's why I'm here. So very excited to be doing that. Just finished a photo shoot yesterday. So if you don't know me, I love doing photo shoots. It's one of my things. It's one of my passions. It gives me that exciting. When we talk about values, self-development is number one for me. Like, it's always self-improvement, self-development. That doesn't mean physically all the time, but a lot of it used to be focused on my physical. And I actually talked about this on my social media yesterday about body dysmorphia and insecurities. I went through a time in my life where I was having babies and I was so comfortable, and I was never on social media. I was like the anti-Facebooker. I'm like, F that. I'm never doing social media. I'm never doing Facebook, because it was just Facebook when it first came out, and it was MySpace and stuff. And I never did it. You would never even see me with my phone. Like, if you saw me with my phone, it was rare. I used to lose my phone. I never carried my purse around. I was really committed to my husband. Like, I was really committed to our family life. I was committed to the world we created. And I liked my privacy. I was also really afraid of public speaking. So for me, it was just not a world I wanted to put myself out in. When, our life dramatically shifted, the economy had crashed, and I needed alternate income sources. I was a dental hygienist. I just had my third child. I talk about this story a lot because it was really a pivotal time for me becoming an entrepreneur. I had to find an outlet, and I did, in the direct sales network marketing world. And so I went on that journey, and I had to build my business on social media. So it was a huge shift for me. It taught me so much. It got me out of my shell. I learned that one of my biggest fears, public speaking, was one of my favorite things to do. And it gave me energy, and it gave me inspiration. And when I knew I could help people with it, that by sharing my suck, by sharing the stories, being vulnerable, being a hot mess express, I say it all the time, like, I am the shit show. Like, we all are. And so it was just me being that person. But in my journey, I had a lot of masks on. I was wearing a lot of masks, and I have, over the years, have had to rip them off and go through a lot of processes. And even recently, probably the most in the last 6 months, and deep diving into who I really am again and finding myself, because it's been so many years. When you commit yourself to somebody on the level I did, and there's nothing wrong with committing to your spouse, your husband, your partner. But when you put people on pedestals and then you take away your worth from it, that's not on them, that's on you. And what I did that. And slowly over the years, I was losing myself. So when I was rediscovering myself, it was like, oh yeah, I like doing this. Oh my gosh, maybe I do like public speaking. And I was becoming a version that the man that loved me was like, oh, what happened to my wife, who was afraid of public speaking, who was a little bit shy? He loved that woman. He loved her. And, it was a lot of transitions. And so, navigating that has been interesting. I have a daughter who, we went through a lot of battles, and we've come out on the other side of it. We still have moments. It's mother and daughter, but at the same time, to have our relationship restored to where it is now is just an absolute blessing. But that took me changing. It took me healing the parts of me. It seriously makes me emotional. It took me to heal some things from my childhood to be able to even understand what she needed from me to heal. And, her journey is just beginning. She's young. She's 22. So she's a beautiful young woman who I am so excited to watch her grow. And she's already had so much life with her. So that's a blessing as well. Having my mom in my life, my crazy ass mom, Chrissy, we call her Chrissy. Sorry, I have tears. This is just crazy. I think it's just such a blessing to be able to have a platform and be able to be honest and be real. To have my mom for the first time in my life on the level that she's at as well. It's just amazing. And now she's moving with me. That was not expected. Oh my God. So you're going to have some Shylo and Chrissy moments. You're definitely going to get introduced to my mother. She's wild. She has one-liners and she drops bombs. So I'm just going to tell you, get ready, buckle up, because she is an episode in herself. She's an actual show in herself. She should have a reality show. We might even make that happen for her, because she is just an incredible woman. My book that I'm writing, yes, that's coming out too, is really for her. It didn't start for her, but it definitely is an ode to my mother. And it's so interesting that it's coming to that point. I'm really excited to surprise her with really that book, because she knows I'm doing it. I don't think she knows on the level it is about her and the things she's taught me and what we've got from our mothers. So, we have just had such an amazing ride and such an amazing blessing over the last year to be able to share publicly all the things, the highs, the lows, the mess, a hot mess, I'm telling you. But now it's on to another adventure. And I'm really excited to share that, because there are so many purpose-driven women out there who are right there. You're right there. You know that you are looking for it. You know that you've been the mom, you've been the wife, you've stood on the side or in the back sometimes, and it's time to stand in the front. And that doesn't mean take over. It means finding that purpose and taking the time for yourself and creating something for your family. Every woman needs financial independence. And I'm not a man hater at all. I love our men. We need our men. But women need to have a financial independence. It's not about divorce. It's about life can happen. Something can happen, and you need to be able to stand and be able to support. I don't know what I would have done if I went through the last year with no financial stability. I would have been living in shelters. I would have had to move around, and like my first divorce was tragic for me. My first divorce left me homeless with a baby. I was living at friends' houses. It was very traumatic. I was really young. I was working at Applebee's, and it was complete survival mode. And I vowed to never do that to myself again, to just let somebody take care of me. And that same person who ruined my credit, I allowed it. So how can I be mad? We were young. He wasn't doing it to hurt me. He just didn't know much. He didn't know any better. And I ended up with the rug pulled out from under me, at thinking, oh, that won't happen to me. Well, it can. And so I really want to focus on, how do we create an empire? How do we create your legacy? How do we create something in your family dynamic that supports your husband, your spouse, your partner? And we can complement each other with it and create that empire together. There are ways to do that. And step out and bring your voice back. Who doesn't want to have their voice come back? Maybe you do a podcast. Maybe you become a celebrity. Maybe we do that for you. Where do you want to go? How can I help you? But we have to heal the old things. The other thing the last thing I'm going to talk about, what was really important to me last year, and as we bring it into this new year, is normalizing the conversation around trauma. Because everybody's got it. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, where you're from, if you're rich, you're poor. It does not discriminate. And almost everyone, if not everybody, has trauma on some level. And that's their trauma. And it needs to be healed for you to heal and to be the version you want to be. And so I always say the Shawshank effect, you do have to go through the shit if you want to come out clean. You really do. And most people avoid the pain. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about your triggers. We'll talk about what really gets you, where your fear's coming from. There's times where I'll wake up in the middle of the night and what is happening? I was just talking about this the other day. I literally slept with a monster last night. Anxiety. It doesn't happen all the time, but I woke up with him and I was panicking. I had looked over and there's anxiety in my bed. Oh my God, how do I get through this? And I had to call somebody to walk me through it, but I got through it. And we're going to give you the tools, but how are you going to get through that? We got to give you the tools for your tool belt so you can navigate this, because you don't have to live with this. And you don't have to numb the pain. My journey with sobriety is a very, very important one to me. And I'm coming up on 2 years. So I'm coming up on 2 years sober. And it's so incredibly important because I was killing myself. Not just a little bit. I wasn't doing it and I didn't know I was going to die. I had no will. I got to the point where I was looking at the woman in the mirror and I'm like, I don't even know you. I you're ugly. You're not the woman I've ever wanted to be. And I would just drink to numb the pain. And then I would drink from the anxiety. And then I would drink because I had anxiety. And then I would fall asleep and pass out. And I would wake up because I had anxiety because I drank. And then I would not be sleeping. And then I got more anxiety because I wasn't sleeping. And then the next day it'd start all over again. I was in a constant spiral until one day I fell flat on my face. And I was like, no more. I had prayed to God for years. Please, please help me get through this. Oh, he answered. And I got my answer very rough. I fell flat on my face, hurt a lot of people. But ultimately, that's what it took for me to get my shit together. It took me doing that. Because I don't think if he did it any other way, I would have changed. Because it wouldn't have hurt enough. It had to hurt so bad that I never do it again. And my father passed away from alcoholism. You know, I saw this was everywhere in my life. And yet it still happens. And it's not the alcohol per se, it's the vehicle you're using. Sex, porn, whatever, overeating. You know, we all have it. What are you using to numb it? What is your thing? We got to get through that. We got to find it, because you might quit drinking and then there's 5 other things waiting on the side going, well, you can smoke. Okay. You can watch a bunch of porn. You go exercise like a crazy person and obsess about yourself all day long. These are still things. These are still things numbing what the real problem is. We're going to get to that. We're going to find out. You got to be committed. You got to be committed. I like to swear a lot. I like to have fun. I like my one-liners like Chrissy. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this adventure. I'm excited to come out and play. And I hope you enjoy all the V launches.